friends. Welcome to Flosstube and Variety Show number, 151. Today is Friday, April 12th, 2025. It is April 12th, isn't it? You know, I have a habit. I can't tell by my watch because it's connecting to the camera. I have a habit. Every morning I get up and I say to myself, today is Friday, April 12th, or whatever day of the week it is, and date. Because I have so few markers in my life of what day of the week it is that it'd be easy to get a little bit forgetful about what that is. I believe that today's Friday, April 12th. I think that's true. Anyway, it might be April 11th. I don't know. It's Friday, close to mid-April. And I'm in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, where the sun is out. We've had quite a bit of rain in the past few days, several days, maybe 4 days. Within 4 days, we've had 3 inches and a quarter of rain here in our house. This is April showers. Bring May flowers, I guess. Anyway, thanks for joining me this afternoon. I hope that you will enjoy what we have to talk about today, which of course Flosstube has to do with cross stitch and Variety Show has to do with something else. It's been 2 weeks since I made a video. I didn't make one last week because I thought that last week was going to be such a busy week that I wouldn't have had the chance to do much cross stitch. And that turned out not to be the case, but Friday was kind of a busy day, so I didn't try to squeeze it in since I had already laid the expectation that there wouldn't be one. And then I got the chance to go today to the casino in Danville, Virginia, for the morning or for the day. And I thought, oh no, I should have done a video last week and warned that this week might be the week that I wouldn't be recording. But it worked out fine because we went a little on the early side and we played the slots or whatever we had in mind for a couple of hours, and we had lunch, and then we went back onto the casino floor until we were finished and came home earlier than I had feared we might. So here it is. It's only, 3 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that. So home in plenty of time to make this video. Flosstube cross stitch. I worked a little bit on Harriet Salt, 1866. This is a Bristol orphanage sampler, Hands Across the Sea. I had planned on it taking 4 years. I'm not off pace for that yet. I think it's pretty accurate. So here we are. This is my whole piece of fabric. What I did this time is over on this section, I took this edge down to the numbers. There's one more line of numbers, and then from that point on begins the border motifs that are in the sampler. So I'm about this far, this much of it is alphabets. And then I also took this section over. So I had ended about here, and so I added alphabets. I mean letters, not whole alphabets, letters there. When I get going on this, it's hard to stop doing it. I like the color, I like red. This is DMC 321, 1 strand over 2. And this is 37 count Russian tea cake by somebody. I like this a lot. It's a very substantial feel to this linen. If I were making a table cover or something, I would consider making it out of that linen. So that's enjoyable. I did pull out Jane Thompson, 1838, by the Scarlet House. because I wanted to, you know, I think in my mind I could finish this year. I mean, last year I thought I could finish it last year. So this is where I am. A few months ago, I had noticed that I miscounted the bottom border, and so now that is incorrectly. I think that's been true for a while. But this time I finished up the flowers in the border that I had partially stitched, and I did that tree. Now you will notice, I hope you can see that at all. Try to get I can't get the light better. There are white blossoms on that tree along with the red ones that practically fade into the fabric. And I'm a little disappointed in that because this is the called for. This was a kit I bought through Homespun Needlework Facebook group. It was an exclusive at that time, offered through Shepherd's Needle in Arkansas, and I ordered the kit stuff. So it's NPI silk 1/2, 36 count sleeping bear. And I imagined that it was, in fact, the Scarlet House who selected that fabric. It's the called for fabric. And it doesn't, that particular shade of NPI silk doesn't really show up on it. So that's a little disappointing, but I'm hoping that the whole of it will look nice. And I could outline those little flower buds on that tree. I could outline those with this darker gray color to make them show up a bit. I wouldn't be opposed to doing a little back stitching. So we'll see. We'll see what I end up doing about that. Last weekend was the first weekend of the month, which is the Blackbird. Brenda and Laura started this, I don't know, 3 years ago. Blackbird Designs Weekend Stitch Along, BBD Weekend Sal, and I've been working on blooming sunflowers out of this book, Winds of Autumn, which this is the picture in the book. And I finished it the first weekend of the month. I finished this last weekend. I don't know what this fabric is. It's 36 count something. It's by Tabby Cat. And I used mostly DMC, some of the called for overdyed threads. And I think it's very Blackbirdy, isn't it? I really like it. And I am going to make it into that little bag. There are instructions in the book about how to do that. Now, here's an interesting thing and something to be aware of about Blackbird designs in general, because I've known this to be true of others, but not just this one. But there are mistakes in the books. Proofreading was not perfect in these books. I know of 3 patterns in 2 books that definitely have errors. And the error in this one is a subtle error. It has to do not with the Weeks Dye Works threads, which are the called for threads, but there's a DMC equivalent given, or substitution probably is a better word for it, given for each week's thread. And they, on page 1, so Blackbird books are printed to be lovely to look at, not only or maybe not even as much as to stitch from. They are pretty easy to stitch from. Don't get me wrong about that. But they are beautiful to look at. And if all you ever did with your Blackbird books was to page through them from time to time, that would not be a waste of money. But this pattern for this little thing here, which I think is something like 70 stitches by 70 stitches, is on 2 pages. It's split across the page because of the desire that they have of how they want to lay out the page. And on the first page, the thread legend gives DMC equivalents for the different colors. And on the second page, the thread legend is repeated for convenience. I like that. What I did not notice is on one of the two pages, the first thread and the last thread, which are similar weeks colors, were both given the same DMC number, but on the other page, they were given different DMC numbers. And the differences are subtle. It is not a huge difference. And I cannot remember now which way I ended up going on that, but I didn't notice the discrepancy until I had stitched a lot of both colors, and it was in places that I didn't want to try to tear it out. So this is not only is it not the called for threads, it's not even the not called for threads. So do try to notice. There's a web page, the Gearies, which gives some of the errata from Blackbird pattern. So it's worth looking at that. I did not look at this before I started it. Thankfully, there's no mistakes in, there are no mistakes in the chart for Mighty Acorn, which I stitched from this book last year. There are mistakes in my stitching of it, but not because the chart had any errors. Anyway, I worked on Hannah Green, 1826. This is the Queen of the May 2024 from, i.e. last year's Queen of the May. The next Queen of the May is about to be released. If you're a member of the Friends of Hands Across the Sea Samplers Facebook group, you get a pre-look at it. And I saw it. It's been already mentioned or shown there. And it's a beautiful sampler, but it's not. I'm not overly drawn to it, but I am glad I'm working on this one. And as you may know, there's a stitch along that I started with Leslie's encouragement to finish this by March 1st, 2026. And so I'm working on it. You can ignore everything from here that way because that's not, I made some mistakes, but we have January, February, March, and now I'm working on April. April is the beginning of that full coverage lawn area with animals down here. So April is about to the cat. That, let me tell you, is a lot of stitching. So it's the 11th or 12th or something of April. I will be able to finish that, but it is a lot of stitching. And I love full coverage. So I have the shepherd done and I have the dog, and I've been getting to do the grass around them. Right, the next thing that happens up here is there's a sheep, and then there's a sheep on this lower level. So I'm gonna get some of that fill in done. I'm working line by line, and I'm using DMC 2 threads over 2 linen threads. This is 36 count, Just the Ticket by Tabby Cat. It's beautiful to stitch on. 2 over 2 gives good coverage, but I want to be very careful about not having any sign of where one row left off or any sort of line in the stitching. So I'm feathering it. I'm making my starts and stops in different directions go in different places because it's not only full coverage, it's full color coverage, all one color of that grass. And so I want to make sure that you can't tell where I started and stopped. And I have been working on Under the Roof of Blue Ionian Weather. Golden Kite is the company that charted this. And since I last showed it at the end of March, I have stitched, or maybe it was the middle of March, I've stitched 1,600 stitches. So here's the whole thing. I mean, it is kind of amazing. And I've been working up here in this arch and in these people. I realized that I had made a mistake in placing 3 or 4 stitches in this area. I'm sorry, I have some dangling threads. I parked threads because of how I was working. Right around in here is somebody's face. Right here, that woman's face. And I had misplaced about 4 stitches in there, in this area. So when there are many instances where I've misplaced stitches throughout this, but in the marble or in this rose bush, I did not care at all. Even in the dresses of these 2 women, if there was a stitch out of place, I didn't care. But in the face, I felt like it could actually make a difference. It could make a difference between it looking like a face and it not looking like a face. So I pulled it out, except it was hard because there was stitches in 2 different colors that were in the wrong spot, and I had already stitched other colors near them. So I had to actually snip the thread and back out, more than just the stitches that were wrong, to get enough thread, as I'd hoped, enough thread to weave it into the back, and I could not weave it into the back. So at that point, there were a lot of loose threads back here on the back. I mean, I don't want any comments on my back or behind my back. But here, a lot of loose threads back there, and I was afraid that they would come loose if I kept, if I continued stitching in my normal way, which is to stitch for a while and then move my hoop and stitch in a different spot. And I realized I could not afford to do that because those threads would be not anchored enough to have that. So that's one of the reasons I have parked threads, because I would have to have moved my hoop to continue stitching those colors. And I didn't want to move my hoop. I wanted to keep working right down in this area until I had done a little more stitching to hopefully anchor those threads. So that's that status. I'm over 80% done now. And this is April, so I have 8 months and a half. And I can do it if I focus on it. I believe I certainly can do it by March 28th, 2026, which will be 5 years after I started it. So sometime between, let's say, November 15th and March 31st, I will finish that, I believe. It's hard to picture that, barring illness or catastrophe, my normal stitching life will enable me to finish it in that time frame. So that is really great. I have bought some things. There was a voucher in the Hands Across the Sea, All Things Bright and Beautiful box, which gave 20% off things in their shop online. And because, I'm really low on Hands Across the Sea charts, I went ahead and ordered some. They haven't come in yet. When they come in, I'll show you. And Teresa, you'll be happy to know one of them is Oscar. One of them is Multiply Kindness, the multiplication table one, which is an original design by Nicola, and I really like it. The border is gorgeous in particular. And I like math, so maybe I'll actually do the whole thing. The only thing I ordered from, is this true? Yes. The only thing I ordered from the Nashville market was one thing, which is Easter Biscornu Trio by Puntinipuntini. I just thought they were very cute. It's something I think Cindy would enjoy stitching, and it's cute. I have some gray fabric that I think would be nice. It's interesting because in the picture, there are those pins. There are 2 pins in each Biscornu, and they go with the design in the Biscornu. So it makes me wonder which came first. Did the designer have the pins and say, oh, I could make some cute Easter Biscornu to go with these pins? Or did the Biscornu exist and then she reached out to a pin maker and said, could you make me some pins to go with my Biscornu? I don't know, but they're cute. The bunny one has carrots on the bottom, the sheep one has flowers on the bottom, and the chicken one has Easter eggs on the bottom. It's really cute. Another thing I bought, I can't show you because there is no cover page to the pattern, but it's 12 Ukrainian, I think it is, I'm pretty sure it's Ukrainian folk art Easter eggs that are about 40 by 50 inches, egg-shaped, that you can do. I mean, I imagine that I would do them on whatever fabric and then make them into little Easter egg-shaped pillows, and I could end up with a little Easter basket full of stitched Easter eggs with coordinated fabric on the back of each one. So that is something I plan to do. They're simple designs. I wish I could show you, but they're folk art designs of the Ukrainian style. So that is all the cross stitch that I wanted to talk about. And the rest of my video, I will give you some updates. First of all, we did go and see our son and daughter-in-law. Was it just last weekend? I think it was 2 weekends ago. Whenever it was, to see their new chicks. I think it was 2 weekends ago. They're very cute. They have 7. I'm going to put a picture in here. They make cute little peeping sounds. And they had grown a lot since the pictures that my son sent the day they got them. The day they got them, they had hatched 2 days prior. So we were there on their 8th day of life. And they had still that amazingly soft little downy coat, but they also were beginning to get their wing feathers. And they were beginning to get little indications that they would have wattles, I guess they're called, or something like that. The little fleshy things that chickens have, which are just the most bizarre things, aren't they? They really are. So very cute. I'll stick, as I said, a couple pictures in. And we enjoyed being with Scott and Natasha, and it was, I don't think we took much of a walk to see anything, but we did walk around the back of their house where Scott has been piling up the firewood, and he has a lot of firewood back there. And I'm just so impressed by his industry and diligence to keep at the task. I mean, not that he isn't industrious and diligent, but he's industrious and diligent in his academics or in his playing video games. But here he is doing this very basic task of being a homeowner and responsible for his property and the safety of his land and all. It's really very impressive. So we had a nice time. He fixed supper. He fixed lunch for us, and we took them out for supper, and it was very fun. We spent about an hour down there with the chickens just watching them. I mean, they're fascinating. They were in there, right now, or I don't know, by now they may not be in the basement, but they were in the basement because, of course, they can control the temperature and they can look after them down there. And they had a heat lamp, and they had a metal enclosure with shavings on the ground and a feed trough thing for their chicken feed to be in, and water deal, which they knew how to use. And they spent time all heaped up in one heap all together, sleeping, or they would get up and run around. And we had fun. They chase a laser pointer. So that was fun. Of course, the thing is that here we are preying on their instinct to chase that laser pointer as if it's an insect, and they never catch it. So I hope they don't give up on chasing insects and catching them, because that's one of the things that they're supposed to be doing. That's part of their job. Out in the grassy area, that, chickens and birds are supposed to follow their instinct to find their own food. Now, Scott and Natasha will feed them. They won't just be wild, natural fed chickens. They will be fed grain as well, or whatever chicken food is made of. I don't know what it's made of. So anyway, that was very fun. We played Mario Kart racing, as we do when we're there with them. Yeah. What else has been going on? It's hard to describe anything else. It's kind of busy, yet not. Busy, yet relaxed. So I guess that's good. To me, that seems pretty good. I should be reading. Book club is coming up. We delayed it a week because of our church's Maundy Thursday service is on the Thursday that we would be meeting. So book club is a week later. I don't think I will have read the book. I might have. Anyway, that's sort of the story of my life. I read the book a month lately. Anyway, I don't think that there's anything else particularly to talk about. I hope that you all are enjoying whatever stitching you're doing or spring activities. I hope you're having pleasant weather and that your April showers will bring May flowers as well. Thanks so much for watching, and many blessings to you, friends.